Hi, it's Dan, the real estate guy, coming to you from the home office again. Just a real short video here. I get asked this question a lot, and that is, why aren't the lenders selling to me direct like they did in the 90s? You might remember the story that in the 90s, I only purchased 8 properties at the foreclosure sales or the trustee sales, my least favorite way to buy, the most dangerous way to buy. But I only purchased 8 there before I found a way to buy from the banks, basically direct, and pay real low prices. In many cases 50 cents on the dollar or less, and I was able to buy 150 properties from about 93 to 96 during that down and flat area that we're basically entering to now. So I thought, wow, they sold me 150 properties. This time around there's far more foreclosures, far more bank-owned properties. I should be able to do way more than that. And yet I haven't been able to develop a source or multiple sources to buy from the banks after they get them back. In our techniques, that's the REO technique. In the 90s, I was able to buy a lot of those. In many cases, they didn't put them in multiple listing, they just sold them to me. All right, and this time it's not working that way. And people want to ask why. Hey, I wanted to ask why. I thought I was going to get to do a bunch of them. So anyways, bottom line is, the word that got back to me as I made hundreds of offers, probably made in the area of 400 offers to bank-owned properties. And the market was still falling at that time, about probably 2 years ago now. It was still falling. I was trying to use all my methods to buy and sell ahead of this fall, but it was very difficult because it was falling so quickly. But I did pick on banks for a while and made hundreds and hundreds of offers. And I only got 4 of those accepted. Now, you're going to hear on another video me talk about what I call taking massive action. And that in this business, when you take massive action, if you get any result at all, one or two deals, it's usually worth it. You see? There may be other businesses when you take massive action and you have some results, it's just kind of small. It doesn't do much for you. But in real estate, any big ticket item, taking massive action and then getting some results, 1, 2, 3, 4 deals, more than makes up for the effort and the cost of that massive action. Well, I took that massive action for a while and did over 400 offers, got lots of counter offers. But I couldn't get the banks to a level where I could fix the property up and earn a fair profit. So I used discipline, and I didn't take those deals that were counteroffered to me outside my parameters. I did get 4 of them accepted. Sounds like a bad rate, huh? 4 out of 400. But oddly enough, only 1 closed of that group. All right, and the reason for that was, I really think that the asset manager or the person at the bottom was being pressured to get this stuff sold, and took my offers lower than they should have, or maybe they had some formula, but they took them too low. They opened escrow, I put my deposit in, and then a few days later I'd get a call, usually through the agents, that the boss won't sign off on the transaction. The boss might have been a boss, or it might have been the investor. You hear people talk about the investor. And this kind of leads to the answer of why they're not selling to me the way they did in the 90s. In the 90s, lenders lent more of their own money. This time around, the lenders really aren't the lenders. In a lot of cases, we would call them servicers. They're servicing the loans that they made and perhaps sold off, but they're servicing those loans. When things were good, servicing the loan meant getting the monthly payments and getting the investor their portion. The people who bought the notes, the loans, right? They were packaged in huge multi-million-dollar, or in some cases $1 billion of loans, and sold off, to big investors, maybe even in other countries. So sometimes a lender is not really the lender. They seem to be more of a servicer, servicing those loans. When the loans started going bad, part of that service is all this foreclosure stuff, right? So they're answering to investors. Where before, in the 90s, when I made an offer to a bank on a bank property, they had an internal meeting inside that bank. They usually met every 2 to 3 weeks. They would go over all kinds of bank business, but one of them was these properties. And they got this offer from these guys, us, myself and my 2 partners. And they would either counteroffer or accept our offers. See, it's a different world. This time around, they made as many loans as they could, as fast as they could, and sold them off all over the world. right? So one of the words that got back to me through all these 400 offers is, hey Dan, we would like to take your low offer on these properties. Believe me, we'd like to take it and get this thing out of here. You know, we know what retail is, but we would love to take the low offer and get rid of it. Especially a problem property, a beat up property, a real fixer-upper, you know, sometimes a multi-unit property. They weren't sure what to do with those. So they wanted to take it. They said, we want to take it. We want to take your low offer. But when we submit that low offer to the note holder, the investor, they want to sue us, right? They think we ripped them off. We sold them this paper inflated. When in reality, maybe it was a little bit inflated, but nobody knew that at the time, right? That was the going rate. There were appraisals. That's what stuff was selling for. But now you take that house that used to be worth $300 and now it's fallen all the way to $150, $160, and I want to pay $70 or $80 for it, then my offer does look awful low, doesn't it? So they think that, well, you sold us this paper and now you want us to take the $70,000 offer, you know, when there was $300 owed on the house. You know, so you obviously ripped us off, and they're mad at each other. Now, I think by now they're starting to accept it, but a few years ago, when the prices fell really fast, before it was really accepted about what was really going on and what's happened, and the market's off 50% or 60% in some of our areas, you need to really check in your area and find out how much it was at the top and what those houses are worth today. You really need to know that drop. I realize that across America, there may be areas where it didn't drop that much. It didn't go up that much, and so it didn't drop that much. You know, California is probably an anomaly. Maybe the East Coast is the same way. Everything in the middle might have different variations of what we went through. But all of those markets have opportunity, all of them. You just have to understand the concepts and techniques. So basically, they aren't selling to me the same way they did in the 90s because they don't need to, right? First, they can't because they're the servicer and not the owner of the property in many cases. The investor has the decision. Will this change? Probably. Probably you'll see them loosen up a little bit at some point. But it would have to take more of a slowdown in the area where the public is buying them, because right now, when a bank lists a property REO, they generally, if it's a good property in a good area, they're going to get it sold. In the 90s, that's another thing that fueled my buying, was that the number of closed transactions per month in my county dropped all the way to one month I remember seeing 264. It's really, really low. Right now it's about 1,400, 1,500 every 30 days, you know, monthly. In a hot market, 2,000 to 2,200 closings per month. So if it gets tougher for them to sell them, when they list them, they don't sell. And you're hearing rumors of slowdown and whatnot, but most of mine do still sell fairly quickly, but they are difficult to close. That's part of the industry problems. If you watch that video, they're taking longer, right? So we're dealing with all these things. But I wanted to just shoot a short video here and let you know the difference between the down market of the 90s, the last boom and bust that I worked, compared to this one. And to give you a dramatic example, in that down market of the 90s, I only purchased 8 properties on my least favorite way, which is the trustee sales, before finding sources, about 4 good sources to buy from, that kept calling me with more deals. Went on to buy about 150 properties and never went back down to the courthouse steps, down to the trustee sales. Didn't need to. Remember, it's my least favorite. It takes the most time, the most effort, the most cash, the most risk, all those things. Didn't need it anymore. Found a better way to buy. All right? This time around, just to give you that as an example, I bought number 50 at the courthouse steps, and I've only purchased a couple of them in other methods. Still testing all the other methods. It looks like some of those are about to break loose soon and start working again. I would love it if I never had to go to the courthouse steps again. You know, again, my least favorite way. But until the other methods start working, I'll continue to do that. I've taught you on another video, even though I don't think it's the place for a beginner or a rookie, I told you in another video how to plug into that activity a safer way, a much safer way to buy from the pros, rather than risk your cash or your money person's cash down there. All right, so look at those videos again if you need to, or for the first time if you haven't, and just go through that and understand it. But I want you to understand why the banks aren't selling to me the way they did in the 90s, and it's basically because it's not their money, or it's not their property, I should say. If they could make the decision, perhaps they would sell me some. And perhaps they're going to soon. Remember, as I test all the techniques and they start to work again and I actually close deals with these techniques, I will be reporting it and giving you an alert video to make sure that you're up to speed in your marketplace. Something works here, again, that hasn't worked in a while. I'm going to wait until it's closed. I'm not going to report it before it's actually worked. Right? In real estate, we have a saying, a deal's not closed until it's closed. But once it's closed, there may be some techniques that I use. If I think it was a fluke, I won't even report it yet. I'll wait till it works 2 or 3 times to where I have it systemized, to where I know why I'm getting it to work. And then I'm going to report that to the members. All right? So keep building your real estate knowledge. Just keep putting in good information. Keep becoming an expert in your marketplace. Keep an eye on those goals. What are you after? Are you after more monthly income? Are you after some big money by buying and selling? Or are you going to do a little bit of both? You know, keep everything in mind every day. Even if you're busy, just do a little bit of this in the morning and the late evening. You'll be surprised how quickly you pick it up and how quickly you can become an expert. All right, remember, you're getting 25 years of experience over 1,000 transactions. You're getting it in a shorter period of time. I'm going to give you the stuff to avoid. I'm going to give you the stuff that works. As new stuff works or new industry problems pop up, I'm going to report them to you. All right, so thanks for being a member again, and I'll see you on the next video.